Hey, today we're going to be learning about differential reinforcement. Purpose of this video was created for people who are looking to obtain their RBT certification and or are currently RBTs and would just like a refresher on what this terminology means. Also for students who are aspiring to be BCBAs or BCABAs and they are currently in school and they are studying this terminology, this video is for you. Also, for maybe people who work directly with students who may have disabilities or may be non-disabled, but you're looking for maybe some ABA principles to use in your classroom. So this may be teachers of all kinds or parents or caregivers. You're looking for ways to use ABA in your home. This video is for you. So differential reinforcement, what is it? Very simple, basic terms. It simply means that we are no longer going to reinforce a particular behavior, which we would call the target behavior, the problem behavior. We're not going to give it any more attention. And instead, we're going to differentiate or give reinforcement to a different behavior, a behavior that we actually want the child to be doing. That's all it is, really. So for note-taking purposes, what I would write for differential reinforcement, that its goal is to weaken a target / problem behavior That's what we're doing. We're weakening the target problem behavior. And how are we doing this? By not giving it attention, which means we are no longer reinforcing. Okay? So, for weakening a target / problem behavior by not giving it attention, what we're also doing, this is where this part comes in, the differentiation or differential, is that we are also reinforcing the differential behavior. Okay? Taking this away, adding this. That's what makes it reinforcement. Reinforcement is usually adding to or taking away something to reinforce or to keep a desired behavior going. And that's how we do differential reinforcement. So now let's break it down and talk about the different ways that you can use differential reinforcement. And we'll use some examples to really further our understanding of this. For our learning example, let's say we have a boy whose name is, I'm not going to say Johnny because I feel like Johnny's always used. How about Aiden? All right, here's Aiden. And Aiden's target behavior, his problem behavior, the thing that he's doing that is just not okay, it's not socially acceptable, it is causing disruption in the classroom, it's causing poor interactions with his friends, with his teacher, he's getting in trouble at home because of it, it's really wreaking havoc on his life. We'll say that his problem behavior is cursing. He likes to curse. And to add a little more context, let's say that Aiden is only in 2nd grade. Okay? So he's cursing often throughout class. Put a little more data to it. Let's say he's cursing, 30 times a day. That is a problem behavior for a 2nd grade, right? Right. So, with that being said, what's very important about differential reinforcement, you have to know the function of the behavior. You have to know Why are they doing this? There's a reason they're doing it. It's not happening for no reason. So what is the reason? So with any problem, we need to know the function. And for this scenario, we'll say that the function of Aiden's cursing behavior is that he is getting social attention. And either he's getting it from his peers, but let's say he's mostly getting it from his teacher, because that's whose attention he wants. He wants the attention of his teacher, but it can also be maintained by the peers. All right, so here we go. Now that we've determined the problem and the function, now we can talk about how we can use differential reinforcement as an intervention to decrease this problem behavior. So I'm going to go ahead and erase this off the board. Make sure you have it in your notes if you're taking notes. And then we're going to break it down. All right. There are 4 types of differential reinforcements. You have the DRA, DRI, DRO, and DRL. I almost forgot, okay? So let's start off with DRA. DRA is actually probably one of the most easiest interventions to use, especially in the classroom. And DRA stands for Differential Reinforcement of Alternative Behavior, okay? That is your keyword, alternative. So what makes it alternative? Let's put a column here. It makes it alternative because if the problem behavior is cursing, what we want to see Aiden doing instead is anything other than cursing. So it could just be having a conversation that has to do with the context that is being taught. It could just be him using appropriate words. It could even be him using words that are not necessarily bad, but not necessarily good. So for example, if instead of him cursing and saying the word, hey, asshole, maybe he's saying, hey, butthole. Still inappropriate, but it's not as intense as the other word. Another example could be maybe when he gets upset, he says, shit, I got it wrong. An alternative behavior could be, doggone, I got it wrong. It's an alternative behavior, and it's a behavior we would rather see him doing. That's what makes it alternative, okay? So for cursing, let's say he's saying shit. The alternative behavior is just speaking, right? And he's saying shucks. Every time he wants to say shit, he says shucks. That's the alternative. So what happens after that for the function? Remember, if we are going to reinforce a different behavior, we have to make sure that it's matching the function of why they're doing it in the first place. So if when he curses and says shit, he usually gets the teacher to say, stop that, Aiden. Right? That's what she usually does. And he still gets attention from it because he's like smiling or smirking, or it just makes him feel good. Instead of the teacher saying stop, when he says shit, she's not going to say anything. No attention, minimizing, taking it away. And by doing that, we're going to call that extinction. Now, extinction is a very hard procedure, but when you're doing the DRA for the alternative behavior, you want to try to minimize attention to this as much as possible. That's what makes it on extinction. So instead of her saying stop, she ignores it. But when he says shucks, she is going to say, teacher says, awesome, right? She's just giving some kind of commentary. She's giving the social attention to the fact that he is still saying something, but it's not this. It's this. Hence, alternative. All right, you guys got that? Let's talk about the second differential procedure. Next procedure we're going to talk about is called the DRI. And that I, the DR stands for differential reinforcement, and the I stands for incompatible. And hopefully I spelled incompatible correctly. I did not. I'm going to correct that. 1 second. Okay, so incompatible, DRI, is very, very, very similar to DRA. However, with DRA, a behavior can just be the alternative. It doesn't have to be incompatible. Whereas with incompatible, the behavior has to be incompatible. Meaning that they can't do A and do B at the same time. It has to be one or the other. It has to be incompatible. So let's break it down. Following our example, problem behavior with Aiden is he is cursing, he's saying shit. What is the incompatible behavior of him cursing? Him not speaking. You cannot curse if you're not speaking. That's incompatible. The two cannot happen at the same time. It's either you're cursing or you're not speaking, or you're speaking or you're not speaking. Like, it just has to be one or the other, right? So not speaking or him just being quiet. So how does this help with the function? Going back to attention. Usually what happens? Teacher says stop. He gets attention and he continues to do that behavior. It's reinforced. But now with the DRI, the teacher is no longer going to say stop. She's not going to say anything. That behavior is going to be put on extinction. And for this behavior, not speaking, being quiet, this is what happens. Teacher says, awesome. Right? So every time Aiden is not cursing or he's just being quiet, he's sitting, doing his work, he's following attention, maybe his hand is raised and he's quiet, the teacher is gonna immediately or as often as possible give him attention for this behavior and say, awesome job being quiet, Aiden. Awesome job not cursing right now. And he's gonna get attention that way. All right? So we covered DRA, DRI. Now let's talk about DRO. So DRO stands for differential reinforcement of other behavior. The O means other. So what does that mean? Here is like a key word to help you remember what DRO has to be. DRO has to do with time. All right, that's my little clock to show you time. There's a time component of it. Not only is there a time component of it, the reason why it's DRO is because the behavior is not allowed to occur in this time component. So we got the time component, and then here's the key word, no occur, or no occurrence, not happening, zero, nada, right? Or how about this? It's not gonna happen, okay? So let's do it with our example. We have Mr. Aiden cursing, says shit 30 times a day. Teacher says stop. And that's how he continues to get attention and the behavior is reinforced. We put in a DRO procedure and we say there is no occurrence of this behavior for 5 minutes, right? So, no cursing for 5 minutes. So what happens after Aiden does not engage in cursing for 5 minutes? He's not saying shit for 5 minutes. This is what happens. Teacher says, what does the teacher say? Awesome. Right? Because she is reinforcing that new behavior and no longer saying stop when he curses. That behavior is now being placed on extinction. Now, for the DRO, what makes it a little bit more particular Usually when the student curses, the teacher says stop. If she's implementing a DRO procedure and there's no cursing for 5 minutes, it has to be for the entire interval. Well, let me take that back. The intervals could be different. It could be like a full interval. It could be spaced out interval. It just depends on what the behavior plan says. But let's say we're doing it for the full interval, the full 5 minutes, right? So no cursing for 5 minutes. If Aiden is at 2 minutes and 30 seconds and he says shit, that interval restarts. Okay, so that's what makes this a little bit more particular. Okay, time for our last differential reinforcement procedure. Our last procedure is DRL, and the L stands for low rates. Okay, so what makes DRL and DRO a little bit different? There's still that time component involved. They both have a time component, but the difference is DRO says this behavior cannot occur for that time period. Low rate says it can occur, but it just has to be a little less than what it usually is. Okay, so keyword here is occur. It can occur, it's just occurring at a very low rate. So bringing it down, bringing it back to Aiden. You guys notice by now, this is what he typically does. And I'm only breaking it down this way just to keep that repetitiveness of how it works, that visual. Look, I put stay here. Whoops. Says stop. Right? Same behavior. What is going to be different? What's going to be the differential reinforcement of the DRL? Aiden can continue to say shit, but instead of saying shit 30 times a day, he's going to be limited. It's going to be a lower rate. We're going to say, hey man, you can only say shit for 20 times a day. Okay? So it's still at a lower rate than what he typically does. And let's say he starts off at 20 times a day in the beginning. And then as he continues to do well with the intervention, we lower that number. And let's say eventually we're like, hey man, you can only say shit 5 times a day. Okay? And how this could look, how I would do something like that is with like a token system. So let's say he gets 5 tokens, right? And at the end of the day, depending on how many, let's say each token is worth 5 minutes. At the end of the day, however many tokens he has left, that's the amount of time he will get to get attention. So whether it's one-on-one attention with his teacher, maybe he gets to like read a book of his choice with his teacher, or maybe if he wants peer attention, he gets a certain amount of time to do like comedy club, and he goes into the front of the class and he wows them with his comedy. Of course, not cursing because we're putting that behavior on extinction, but he's finding ways to get attention from his classmates, right? So breaking down the example a little more, let's say for each time the teacher hears him say shit, lost a token, you only have this many tokens left. Lost a token, you only have this many tokens left. Now it's the end of the day, let's tally up, 5, 10, 15. Okay, you have 15 minutes of attention time. And that's how that behavior of cursing would decrease. So he's still engaging in it, but it's just not as much, and he's still able to access attention. All right, so what we need to write here is teacher says awesome, and he is rewarded with attention. These are our 4 types of differential reinforcement used in ABA. So just to recap one last time what differential reinforcement is, it is a procedure that is used in ABA to weaken undesired behavior and to strengthen a desired behavior, increase it. And we do that by making sure that with each procedure, that the undesired behavior, the behavior we want to get rid of, the problem behavior, behavior of interest, is put on extinction by us minimizing attention to it and no longer reinforcing it, while simultaneously we are reinforcing either an alternative behavior, an incompatible behavior, the behavior not occurring at a certain time and or other, or the behavior occurring at low rates. And that's how we do that. So if this video was helpful, please give me a like. If you have more questions, go ahead and comment. If there are other videos you would like to see me kind of break down with terms and terminology, let me know in the comment box. And best of luck to you out there in the field. And differential reinforcement is one of the most powerful things we can use with our students, our clients. So I hope you're using it and it is beneficial to you.